5. About 20 kilometers later, mountains appeared on the horizon. Beautiful. High. And long. They stretch along the entire horizon. More likely. It is in these mountains that the Izvilistaia River originates. And not only she. After another 50 kilometers, behind the next hills, I saw a river. It flows in the lowland. Wide. Living up to its name. Wriggles. Like a snake. To our right. In that direction. Where the village should be located. About 7 or 8 kilometers away there rises a huge hill. Shaped like the back of a bald man's head. You simply couldn't imagine a better position for a good view of the surroundings. Having climbed to the top of the hill. Climbed onto the roof of the Toyota. And began to examine the surroundings. Beauty. The air of this world is with ours. Earthly. Can't compare. The cleanest air. Not spoiled by industry. Visibility is excellent. Hills. Big ones. And small. Stretch in all directions. About 15 kilometers from the Izvilistaia River they smoothly transition into the mountains. Going to the right. And to the left for an unknown distance. The river itself flows between the hills. From the mountains. How? And assumed. Into the unknown distance. Upon careful examination, many animals were discovered. And in the mountains. And near the river. And just on the hills. And between them. Nature has not yet experienced human intervention. Intervention of this kind. What ours saw. Earthly nature. The village of Sachsenhausen can be seen about 25 kilometers away. With the help of a monocular, you can distinguish some buildings. The village is located next to the river in a lowland. So location. Honestly. Unprofitable. From a defense point of view. Well armed. And an experienced group will be able to carry out the capture fairly quickly. And with minimal losses. Snipers. Located on the hills. Will work throughout the village. Not allowing the defenders to stick their heads out. Why did I get so worked up? It is unlikely that anyone would think of capturing an entire village. The rest of the journey passed without incident. Closer to the village I noticed many fishing boats in the river. And found the field sown. We met it. And a peacefully grazing herd of ordinary earthly cows. And sheep numbering at least 1,000 heads. The shepherds did not show themselves in any way. I have no doubt. That they have walkie-talkies. And our arrival was reported. Sachsenhausen is divided into 2 parts. The first part is an industrial zone. Cowsheds. Barns. Hangars. And many other small buildings. The industrial zone of the village occupies a considerable area. 20 hectares. No less. The second part is residential. Noticeable. That she is much older. And the influence of the Germans is noticeable. The houses are almost identical. Log. With gable roofs. Covered with clay tiles. The largest building. 3-story. Is located in the center of the village. Either the local administration. Or a hotel. There are no signs. When there were 200 meters left to the village. A Chinese copy of a Hummer drove towards us. Called Dongfeng Armor. I decided to stop. So as not to tempt the gunner sitting at the machine gun controls. The machine gun on the roof of an army jeep is serious. I haven't seen any like that. Chinese. Maybe. It was on sale along with the Tarantas. Are we going to live here? Asked Kaylee. I got a naive girl. However. Not wanting to upset her. I nodded. If he wants. Then it can stay. The Chinese Hummer stopped a few meters ahead. The gunner behind the machine gun is a blonde man in camouflage. And teardrop-shaped sunglasses. 2 people got out of the car. And they beckoned me over with gestures. I also got out of the car. And went to meet them. The driver of the Chinese Hummer is dry. Like a match. A slightly dark-skinned, blue-eyed brunette of my height. And age. The passenger is a plump man of about 50. With eyebrows that grow together. With piggy eyes. And a keen gaze. Sausage fingers crossed together. And no peace. Hello. I said in English. Russian. The plump man frowned. That's him. I nodded. Newly arrived. The fat man continued his interrogation. I nodded again. You should take a look in the mirror. I suspect. That I have the seal newcomer on my forehead. Jarvis Wilkins. The sturdy man introduced himself. I am the head of local security. And the village's security services all rolled into one. And part-time. Village manager. Do you have any weapons? How could we do without him? I smiled. Carrying weapons is prohibited on the territory of the village. And its application. Wilkins began to speak as if from a piece of paper. All forms of violence are also prohibited. Theft. Insulting citizens and... I got you. Man. I interrupted. I respect the security measures. Who should I hand over my weapons to? There is no need to hand over weapons. Wilkins replied. Just leave it in the car. The car will be parked in a special parking lot. Getting around the city is only on foot. I don't have any money. But there is an extra barrel. Which I want to sell. What to do? I asked. Peter will help. Wilkins replied. And pointed to a dark-skinned subordinate. Then let's go. I agreed, show me. Where is your special parking lot? I'm tired from the road. I want to rest. Silent Peter went with us. The special parking lot turned out to be a square of 20 by 30 meters. Located directly behind the 3-story building. And fenced with a 1.5 meter chain link fence. With flimsy gates. When asked about preserving property, Peter pointed to the camera. Installed on the roof of the building. So security. Honestly. Hope. That there is no stealing here. Next came the turn to sell off the loot obtained in the skirmish with the bandits. The buyer turned out to be Wilkins. The 3-story building is the local administration. And at the same time the Wilkins house. It seems. That without his knowledge not a single movement occurs in the village. AKM. PM. And the binoculars pulled out 75 credits. The amount is very small. If you take into account that a night's stay in the cheapest room at the village's hotel costs 25 credits. Nothing. We'll break through. Without leaving the 3-story building. I received an offer from Wilkins to rent one of the 3 rooms available in the administration building. The cheapest one starts at 50 credits. Walk around the village. And I don't want to look for something cheaper. I decided to agree. I took the most expensive one. Having persuaded Wilkins to accept 75 credits instead of the stated 100. Robbery. Which I was subjected to on Earth. Continues. And here. Number. Located on the 3rd floor. I liked it. The main room is 3 by 4 meters. Furnished to a minimum. 1.5 bed. Nightstand. Closet. And a mirror on the wall. All furniture is made of wood. No compressed sawdust. The bathroom contains a toilet. Sink. And shower. That's what you need. Taking a towel out of the bag. I handed it to Kaylee. And asked. Are you going to wash yourself? The Irishwoman grabbed a piece of terry cloth. And with a satisfied look she rushed off to the shower. About 15 seconds later the sound of water gurgling could be heard. There is running water in the village. Hot water too. It's not that bad. Civilization. About 20 minutes later I went to the shower after washing myself. Changed into shorts. And a t-shirt. Costume. Soaked in sweat. Washed by hand. Kaylee washed her clothes too. And went to bed wrapped in a towel. We'll need to buy her some normal clothes as soon as possible. Shorts. T-shirt. And a set of beige underwear cannot be called normal clothing. I fell asleep when it got dark. I saw the moon in the sky. Indistinguishable from the earthly one. And fell asleep. Asterisk. Waking up. I stared at the wooden ceiling for about 10 minutes. And enjoyed the embrace of a young, hot female body. Towel. Which Kaylee wrapped herself in. During the night it managed to slide down to my feet. The Irishwoman climbed on top of me thoroughly. She laid her head on my shoulder. She lay with her chest on my chest. And one of his graceful ones. And pushed her delicious legs between my trained legs. Lying on your back. I see little. Lifting the blanket. And head. I admire the curve of the back. And a round butt. I have every right. By the way. She climbed on top of me herself. Gently stroking red hair. I was trying to wake up Kaylee. At some point, her hand. Hugging me. Began to go down. Stopped breathing. And even got a little scared. This is wrong. A gentle palm reached the stomach. And I still couldn't breathe. Without stopping on the stomach. Gradually, Kaylee's palm reached the organ. Who got up a little earlier than me. I understand. That I continue to stroke my red hair. But not so tenderly anymore. He started to move his fingers. With pleasure. Lie. Understand. That everything is wrong. But I stubbornly continue. You can't go against nature. Kaylee's fingers wrapped around mine. And she woke up. Big green eyes stared at me. They looked at each other blankly for a few seconds. And then they became even bigger. Pushing away from me. Kaylee wrapped herself in a blanket in moments. And rushed into the next room. Fine. That she didn't confuse the exit from the room with the entrance to the bathroom in her sleep. A couple of seconds later, the sound of running water was heard from the shower. I breathed a sigh of relief. If Kaylee and I have sex. Then it definitely won't start this way. Having dressed. I went down to the 1st floor. Administrative counter. Or, in other words, reception. Yesterday was empty due to the late time of day. Now, behind her sits a plump blonde of about 40, with her lips painted bright red lipstick. Smiling. She said tenderly. Good morning. Hello. I nodded. Can you tell me? What time is it? The full-lipped blonde glanced somewhere under the counter. And answered. 7 hours and 12 minutes. Morning. This is good. I smiled. It remains to figure out the number of hours, minutes, and seconds. The days here are longer than on Earth. About 2 to 3 hours longer. Can you tell me about breakfast? It is generally served. Like in normal hotels. They are serving. But for a separate fee. The lady fluttered her eyelashes. Breakfast is at 8. It happens a little later. It all depends. When the head of the village wakes up. And he. Enough. I stopped him. I'm taking breakfast. But for one person. Will they be able to deliver it to my room? I'll pay the extra fee later. The lady nodded. It's simple. Breakfast is prepared for the village headman, Jarvis Wilkins. And at the same time they serve it to them. Who rented the rooms? Judging by that we are the only guests. There is almost no demand for temporary housing. Here you go. And glorious. I smiled. And one more thing. If a red-haired girl comes down to you, then tell her that Nick was gone for a couple of hours. Agreed. Agreed. The lady smiled. And I headed towards the exit. The village is waking up. The sun is already at its zenith. And it bakes quite well. The temperature is close to 30. It will be hot. After leaving the local administration area. And micro hotels all in one. I decided to take a walk. And explore the village. The roads in the village are unpaved. And narrow. Beyond the village they are much wider. And more compacted. Transport is moving. Where do they get fuel? The main construction material in this world is wood. Most of the houses are log houses. Panel or timber to a minimum. And they are newer. New houses have poured foundations. And that means that cement production has already been mastered. They certainly won't drag him through the portals. There is no benefit. Old log houses have a wooden foundation. They stand on coniferous bulls. There are the fewest panel houses. The production of pressed wood boards has not yet been mastered. And shields are made from boards. The wood is coniferous everywhere. Which is noticeable by the resin that is released. There are few painted houses. And they are also mostly new. Means they also make paint. I didn't come across any iron fences. But there is enough iron in the city. Fence made of chain link mesh. Taken from the back of the administration. Confirmation of this. And also nails. Self-tapping screws. Latches. And other little things. So necessary in construction. And everyday life. Iron ore mining. And its further processing has been mastered. Non-ferrous metals too. More likely. Are produced. This world is not so bad. Developing. Interesting. Oil is extracted. And are they processing it or haven't mastered it yet? Petrol. And diesel fuel is also possible. And produce in artisanal conditions. But there is a risk of causing a bang. And say goodbye to life. However, moonshine stills also produce quite a bang. But that doesn't stop anyone. You just need to follow safety precautions. All windows are glazed. Glass production has been mastered. I didn't see any plastic windows. They haven't learned how to make plastic yet. Or she just didn't get to these places. Well, I don't know. Where are the main industrial cities in this world? Maybe. Very far. We need to study the map. And preferably local. A thin, grumpy-looking, grey-haired man is digging in the front garden of one of the houses. Seeing me. Walking slowly down the street. And looking around. He grimaced. Muttered something unintelligible. And continued digging in the ground. Flower lover. It's immediately clear. Their number makes one's eyes dazzle. Where can I find a Russian person? About 10 minutes later I stopped at a small log house. He attracted me with his appearance. So handsome. Decorated in an antique style. The windows have carved frames. And shutters. A sun is carved into the facade right at the ridge. And its rays. Cornice with images of various animals. Wherever you look. There is wood carving everywhere. Even on the fence. All in all. This is not a house. And the hut. And how long will you admire it? The old man creaked. Sitting on a carved bench near the gate. And why didn't I notice it right away? Grandfather is old. Like life itself. He is about 90 years old. No less. A brown pipe smokes in a wrinkled hand. A luxurious grey beard reaches his stomach. Dressed in a light grey shirt. And dark grey trousers. There are galoshes on the feet. On the head is a straw hat. A varnished cane is placed against the gate. The old man addressed me in Russian. And that means that I have completed the task of finding my compatriot. Great. Old. I smiled and sat down next to my grandfather on the bench. Good health to you too. Young. Answered the grandfather. And handed me the phone. Are you smoking? Thank you. I don't smoke. I said, still smiling. And how is it there? The grandfather asked. Just like before. I answered, knowing. What is the question about? They drink. And steal. They drink. Truth. Now a little less. But they steal more. This didn't happen under Stalin. The grandfather said sadly. And took a drag on his pipe. It is filled with something fragrant. Some local analog of tobacco. Or terrestrial tobacco is grown. Smokers are real sneaks. What tricks they don't resort to. Just to smoke. You won't give me any tea. Old man. I asked good-naturedly. Why not? The grandfather was surprised. Went. I don't mind wasting water. We entered the hut. In its center. How? And it is supposed to. There is a large Russian stove. Whitewashed. There is a table in the corner with a samovar standing on it. Samovar. Truth. Electric. But it's not scary. Think. What is available? And another. There are two massive chests against the walls. Covered with iron. And a hand-carved wooden bed. The cabinets on the walls are also handmade. The door behind the stove leads into the unknown. The floor is covered with colorful carpets. Only a refrigerator. And the microwave oven stand out from the interior. And an LED light bulb hanging from the ceiling. Grandfather plugged the samovar into the socket. He sat down tiredly on a wooden chair and pointed to a similar one. Said. Come on, sit down. Young. Let's talk. How long have you been here? Grandfather. I asked, continuing to examine the interior of the hut. Stalin was still alive. The old man answered. Read it. Since 52nd. 69 years already. If it's 21st year now. For a long time. I muttered. So what? They were already sending people here back then. Or you do that. Did you accidentally wander into the portal? So I tell you. And told secret information. The grandfather said angrily. I don't reveal any secrets. You don't want to. Do not reveal. I agreed, yes. And it's not a secret anymore. Maybe. There. Houses. And mystery. But I'm here. Who would be interested here? You were right about that. The grandfather nodded. And took off his hat. Placing it on the chest standing nearby. Added. Perhaps. I'll tell you. You are one of us after all. At least. And a little bit alien. You and I are different. Young. From different eras. Centuries. And states. There is such a thing. Old. We are from different eras. Agree. But from the state. And 1 century. I was born in the USSR. Let it be so. And at the end of its existence. And it was the 20th century then. My name is Yuri Nikolaevich Egorov. I was born on the 7th of February, 1920. You know. What is this date famous for? I'm slowly freaking out. Shook his head. 101 years. And why did you consider yourself aging at 34? I'm still young. A brat for this grandfather. Per day. When I was born. Alexander Vasilyevich Kolchak was shot. Said grandfather Yura. You know. Who was he? Admiral. I answered, remembering the story. And also the supreme ruler of Russia. There was a civil war then. It was a bad time. I started to like you. Young. Nodding. Said the old man. The history of the homeland is important. And it needs to be known. Make your grandfather happy. Name the date of the end of the First World War. November 11th, year 18. I answered without thinking. Old man Yuri extended his wrinkled palm to me. I just have a good memory. I said and shook it. You. And he himself is not bad. The grandfather chuckled. And asked. What's your name? Nikita. Let's. Nikita. Get up. And go to the refrigerator. You are a guest. But it will take a little work. Let's drink tea. Jam was placed on the table. Milk. Honey. Sour cream. Cheese. Cottage cheese. Bread. Smoked sausage. Canned poultry. And pickled mushrooms. Reminiscent of honey mushrooms. Everything is homemade. Old man Yuri brewed some fresh tea. And the tea party began. Let's. Nikita. Tell your story. How I lived my life. How did you get here? And what are the impressions? Then I'll tell you my story. It's long. I spoke quickly. But in detail. Yuri listened. And did not interrupt. My story began with that. How I realized I was a child in an orphanage. Then he talked about growing up. And studies. About military service. And war. Which I had the chance to visit. About the short life in civilian life after leaving the army. About deception. And a large debt. About the bright future. And the dark future. About traveling to another world. And a short stay in it. Good story. Said the grandfather. When I finished. Did you live right or not? I won't tell. Are you here? And there is no other way. It all turned out like this. As you wanted. The only thing. What will I say? This is not how I imagined the future of my country. What a pity. That values have been replaced. Now listen to my story. Nikita. But first, I'll show you something. The old man stood up from the table. And approached one of the chests. Having opened it. Pulled out a flat object. Wrapped in cloth. Under the fabric there was a small red box. They used to sell Montpensiers in boxes like these. But this one will be bigger. Putting the box in front of me. The old man said. Open up. And look. I opened the lid. A TT pistol was found inside. 2 certificates. Inverted with the inscriptions facing the bottom of the box. And the icon. It was the icon that told me everything. There is a sword running along the entire length of the badge. Sickle. And a hammer in the center. And also an inscription. SMERSH. You from? I was confused. Look further. The old man demanded. I carefully took out the IDs. The first one has a star with a sickle at the top center. And a hammer inside. Next comes the inscription. NKVD of the USSR. SMERSH Counterintelligence Department. For some reason, the ID card inside was poorly preserved. The photo is very faded. And the inscriptions became blurred. And almost unreadable. Didn't save. Grandfather Yura said sadly. I picked up the second ID card. Star with a sickle. And now with a hammer on the left side near the spine. And in the center it is written. Ministry of State Security of the USSR. Photo. And the recordings are quite distinguishable. In his youth, Captain Yuri Egorov had angular facial features. And a keen gaze. The Chekist was stern. The certificate is valid until the end of 1953. If you believe the press. You. More likely. The last of those. Who served in these structures. I said quietly, I didn't think so. That I would have a chance to meet such a person. How are you? How am I different from other people? The grandfather was surprised. That. What, a Chekist. This was the job. Nikita. Job. And forced me to get here. Tell me. I demanded. Those were hard times. Said Grandfather Yura. The war has come. When I was 21 years old. Until 1943 he was an operative in the NKVD. And did not see the war. And then was sent to Moscow for training. After 6 months of training, I got to the front. The war is over. And a year later SMERSH ceased to exist. And the NKVD along with him. The MGB was created. Maybe. More tea. Nikita. I nodded. Grandfather began to fill mugs from the samovar. And continued. The war is over. And its echo continued to thunder. Retribution had to be carried out. Many fascists fled across the world. And managed to hide. I was one of those. Who was involved in searching for them. And subsequent liquidation. In 49th, the technology became known. Which German scientists managed to develop. And which the Americans obtained. Back then, this world was not populated so actively. As in the last 30 years. The Jews also developed this technology. And we have it too. I was part of a group of 9 people. Sent to administer justice in the New World. Only 40 years later the last fascist was found. Found. And killed. From this gun. Grandfather took the TT in his hand. Looked at him. And put it back in the box. After a pause. Added. The way back. Alas. No. I had to live in a new world. My story is long. But it turned out to be shorter than yours. I don't like to talk a lot. We drank tea in silence. And just as silently went out into the street. The old counterintelligence officer lit his pipe. And sat down on the bench. I sat down next to him. Enough about the past. Nikita. Think. That it's time for you to go. If you don't plan to leave soon. Then run in. Let's talk over a cup of tea or a glass of something stronger. Necessarily. I exclaimed and shook the old man's hand. Having risen. Bowed slightly. And said goodbye. All the best to you. Yuri Nikolaevich. Go ahead. The old man muttered. Returning to the administration building. I found Jarvis Wilkins at the exit in the company of his new assistant. A Chinese Hummer is waiting on the road. Oh, Nick. Wilkins exclaimed, grabbing my hand. Began to shake vigorously. How are you enjoying your first day in our town? Did you manage to study everything? Did you like it? What's the number? Did you sleep well? Everything is fine. I answered and freed my hand. Have you thought about selling anything? Wilkins asked happily. I haven't thought of it. I answered rudely and went into the administration building. The blonde with full lips smiled at me and thanked God. Remained silent. I reached the room, opened the door, and froze. Kaylee. My red-haired companion is lying on the floor next to the bed in a position that is unnatural for a human being. This is how dead people lie. White foam comes out of the half-open mouth. Jumping up to the girl. Started listening to the pulse. He showed up. How? And barely noticeable breathing. Glass eyes. Blind. Kaylee is dying. It took me about 3 seconds to think. Jumping out of the room like a bullet. Jumped up the stairs. And flew up to the thick-lipped one. My speed. And the appearance greatly frightened the thick-lipped lady. And she decided to leave. Grabbing her. And forcibly sitting him back down on the chair. I quickly asked. Viruses. Diseases. Bites or anything else. There is that. What causes paralysis? The blonde blinked her eyelashes. Realizing the mistake. I repeated the same thing in English. Yes, yes. The woman nodded vigorously. Viruses. Diseases. Bites. Paralysis. A doctor is needed. Where is the doctor? I shouted, fearing that every second can count. Wilkins. The blonde answered. And pointed to the door. I opened the door with my body. And flew out into the street. Wilkins. And his partner are about to get into the car. Stand. I commanded and found myself next to Wilkins. What causes paralysis of the body? Foam at the mouth. And a glassy look. Kane's paralysis. He answered immediately. Showing mental activity on his face. How long ago did you arrive? How many days? I've been here for 3 days. Kaylee, I don't know for sure. How many? At least a couple of days earlier than me. Any chance? Wilkins looked at his assistant. And barked. Quickly get Brunneman. The assistant jumped into the car. Launched it. And rushed off. Raising dust. I dragged Wilkins into the room. Looking at Kaylee. He shook his head. And said. Kane's paralysis. A common occurrence. Half of those who arrive in this world cannot withstand one of the local bacteria. There is a chance. Nick. Brunneman will cure her. But it costs money. How many? I asked immediately. 1,000 credits. Nick. Wilkins answered calmly. Dash. And something else is unclear with you. The incubation period lasts up to 10 days. Plus, you need vaccinations from others. No less dangerous infections. This will cost you dearly. Nick. I gritted my teeth. Lifting Kaylee. Put it on the bed. And, if possible, gave the paralyzed body a more or less natural pose. Covered with a blanket. Why didn't anyone warn about the infections? And I didn't think about that. Now go sort out the problems. Nick. I can help you. But for this you need a deposit. Wilkins said. All in all. Everything will cost you 5,000 credits. Your car will be used as collateral. To hell with the deposit. I almost shouted, remembering the gift from the French. I have penicillin. Extract from animal testicles. Looks like a hair. Late. Nick. Wilkins spread his hands. Penicillin won't save Kane from paralysis. The penultimate stage is already here. Then cardiac arrest. And death. I walked up to Wilkins. And looked into his eyes. He was frightened by my gaze. I growled. You're taking my car as collateral. But keep this in mind. If I find out that this is a scam, then many will feel bad. You first. Are you threatening me? Wilkins asked with trembling lips. My tone scared him. In a fit of anger, I can kill a fat man with my bare hands. He is not capable of resisting me for long. I'm warning you. I answered calmly. I'm not lying to you. Nick. Wilkins whispered. I don't need this. But rest assured, viruses. And the bacteria of this world are very dangerous. Medicines. Which you need. They produce too far from these places. That's why. And price. Closer to the big cities they would charge you 3 times less. Time is not on your side. Nick. I didn't answer Wilkins. And began to walk around the room. Becoming more and more nervous. And more. About 10 minutes later, a Chinese Hummer approached the administration building. Raising a column of dust. A minute later, a terribly thin elderly German man in a white coat burst into the room. And round glasses with very thick lenses. A sort of Dr. Ebolet. Putting the suitcase on the floor. He leaned over Kaylee. And began to examine her. Hello. Brunneman. Wilkins said. Halt die clap. Jarvis. Brunneman barked. And I started to like him. Al Rouse. He asked us to leave. Wilkins said quietly. And slipped out of the room. I followed him out. Closing the door behind him. Hope. That Dr. Brunneman can handle it. And Kaylee will live. I'm not worried about myself. Because there is no deterioration in health. Healthy as a bull. Let's go talk. Nick. Wilkins called. And walked down the corridor. I silently followed. Assuming. What will the conversation be about? The debtor's fate is not encouraging. We entered a spacious office. Filled with wooden furniture. A desk with a ton of papers. And a laptop. 3 chairs. And a nightstand. A pair of cabinets. And a ridiculous picture on the wall. Mostly white. And yellow tones. Keep paint to a minimum. There is no smell of luxury. Have a seat. Nick. Wilkins said. And sat down at the table by the window. I sat down opposite him. And with his eyes he asked for continuation. 5,000 credits is a decent amount. Nick. Do you understand this? I nodded. Are there any options for debt repayment? Wilkins asked. I can't give the car back. I said calmly, there is work, tell me. Just keep this in mind. That remove manure. And I definitely won't dig up the beds. Think. Jarvis. You are an impudent Russian. Wilkins exclaimed. Russian. I nodded, and perhaps. Impudent. Go ahead and speak. I see. That there is work. Do you know how to kill? The chubby one asked. Show. I answered defiantly. Jarvis threw up his hands. And began to wail. You'll show me. But not to me. I have a job. But it doesn't amount to 5,000 credits. I'm willing to pay 10 for it. Just a couple of days ago I was planning to hire a group of good fighters. But I won't yet. If you do this, you will pay off your debt. And you'll still end up in the black. Will you take it? First, tell me. What needs to be done? I asked, I'm sorry. But I am not able to read minds. Wilkins frowned. And began to tap the table with the fingers of his left hand. He began to tell his story. Our main activity is agriculture. And fishing. The village lives by them. The main farm belongs to me. And almost half of the population works there. Fish business among the population. But selling finished products through me. The population also has livestock. And fields. Everything through me. Thanks to the income from the farm. And with connections I pull this village out. Besides, people have jobs. And this is an important point. How? And in any other matter. This job has its downsides. I milk the cows. And someone milks me. Understand? Nick. I understand. There is no law in this world. And that means. Crime is thriving. No wonder. What are personalities? Who are engaged in milking peacefully living villages. Villages and possibly. Cities. Cities. Certainly. In doubt. There are a lot of people there. And that means. And fighters. How many fighters do you have? Jarvis. I asked. 17 people. Nick. Gang. Which milks you? Larger. No. Wilkins shook his head. There are 11 of them. But I can't risk my guys. They are not very experienced. Many will die in the skirmish. Besides, I don't want to be seen. The gang is not alone. If anyone survives. And will be able to leave. Then he will return later with reinforcements. You are a new person. And unknown. If they kill. Then they are unlikely to think it was me. It's an interesting scenario. I muttered, it seems I don't intend to die. I need to think about it. Need info. Jarvis. Is the gang far from here? And what is their nationality? I heard that. What I least expected to hear. Or. More precisely. Didn't want to hear. The gang consists of the same. How are you? Nick. They live nearby. You can even get there on foot. The gang leader's name is Pan. A healthy brute. All blue from tattoos. Don't continue. I stopped, remembering that I saw a person with such a nickname on the page of a brochure. He is included in the list of bad people. There is no doubt about that. I'll take on this job. Wilkins. I know your Pan. Bad person. An hour later, Kaylee was transported to a 1-story building. Which is the local hospital. They took me there too. Dr. Brunneman convinced that the Irish woman's life is not in danger. And in a couple of days she should wake up. And will be discharged after another day. So 3 days without Kaylee. 3 days for that. To pay off debts with Wilkins. Brunneman declared me absolutely healthy. But I still got 2 vaccinations. Which should develop resistance in the body to the most dangerous viruses. And the bacteria of this world. In another day I have my next vaccination. And then another one. Given that your health will not worsen. Think. That everything will be alright. I have good immunity. I'm not complaining. Freed. I returned to the administration building. And headed towards the car. Which is now in pledge. Having found the brochures. Which the old man gave me back in Kemerovo. Went to the room. Job. Which he undertook to carry out. Requires preparation. First. Which is worth understanding. This is a map of this world. Superficially. Certainly. There is no time yet to thoroughly study the geography of the new world. Opening the brochure. I looked at the image of a huge continent. Called Central. The map does not depict any other known continents. They certainly exist. But not open yet. Everything revolves around the central continent. Its peninsulas. Capes. And the nearest large islands. The shape of the central continent is similar to Earth's Eurasia. But flatter. And elongated. The approximate length is 13,500 kilometers from west to east. The width is no more than 6,000 kilometers from north to south. The cardinal directions in the new world remain the same. From the former world. And are located in exactly the same way. Why isn't my compass working? One can only guess. Or did he not work only in the dead forest? Anything is possible. Find a place. Where I am at the moment. I couldn't. You need to know the landmarks. And they are unknown to me. I'll figure it out later. Now we can get down to the main task. The introductory geography lesson is complete. Opening the brochure. I looked at the stern, bearded face of Slavic appearance. The features are angular. Even too much. Like a log. Poorly processed. Panov Pavel Grigorievich. Nickname, Pan. Age 47 years. Height, 1 meter 97 centimeters. Weight, 133 kilograms. He committed his first crime at the age of 13. He was convicted of murder. And rape. Born in the city of Chelyabinsk. I stopped reading Panov's biography. And closed the brochure. All. What is needed. It is known. Here. In the new world. Panov for 4 years already. For a long time. No matter how you look at it. It will be a bit difficult. I decided to drop in to visit Captain Egorov. And chat. I simply have to find out the opinion of the old counterintelligence officer. Asterisk. Well. I know him. So what? Asked Grandfather Yura. And continued sorting through the buckwheat. My eyesight is failing me. Don't you want to help? I took a pot of buckwheat. And began to pick out trash from it. Buckwheat. By the way. Local. Very weedy. Truth. 11 against 1 is a lot. The grandfather muttered. Lighting a pipe. I'm not your assistant. Nikita. Wilkins is greedy. And he certainly won't single out his guys. You'll have to do it yourself. He set a price for himself that was not very high. No one would agree to this for 10,000 credits. Besides, Pan's gang is not the only one in this area. There's a lot of shit in this world. Shit. Who likes to come prepared? And Wilkins is a fool. And I can't call it anything else. Even if you magically manage to send Pan's gang to the next world. And him there too. Then after some time another gang will come. I used to be the same. I've seen it. And understood the structure of this world. There is no point. Milked. They milk. And they will milk. The places here are like this. Nikita. Yes, that's clear. Old man. I'm interested in something else. You have been in this world for a long time. When did you get here? Vaccines. And there were definitely no vaccinations. How did you cope with everything? Oh, how? Answered the grandfather. No way. Nikita. There were 9 of us. 3 of us died immediately. They were good men. Another one died a week later. One recovered from illness. But he remained a fool. So there are 4 normal people left. Petka. That he lost his mind. He died from a snake bite a month later. I did not bear the conditions of this world easily. And thought. That I'll die too. Everything turned out all right. As you see. Alive. And healthy. They told me to live long. We. You can say. Were pioneers. It was quite hard. Especially at first. The local animals alone are worth something. These edges are harmless. Right there. Where we were thrown out. This is real hell. And the Union? I asked. And what about the Union? The grandfather frowned. The Union had no time for this. Plans for settling the New World only began to be made 20 years later. In the 70s. Grandiose plans. People were sent here. I collaborated. If only everything worked out. There would be another Union here. Why didn't it work? It didn't work. And that's all. The grandfather waved it off. Don't ask me. There's no mood for some reason. There will be a desire. I'll tell you. I continued sorting through the buckwheat. Grandfather decided to cook some porridge thoroughly. A saucepan with a capacity of 15 liters. No less. There are many Russians living in this village. Said the grandfather after several minutes of silence. Dash. And good ones. And bad ones. There are 12 of us in total. Although no. 11. Polike can be written off. For the 3rd month there has been no sign or word. Or a donkey somewhere. Or that. If we consider those living here as helpers, then I advise you to meet Modest Karandashov. He is about 40 years old. Good man. Explanatory. A former pilot. Will you get to know each other? I looked at grandfather Yura. And nodded. Then finish with the buckwheat. And let's go. Asterisk. House. Where Modest Karandashov lives. Is located on the outskirts of the village. It can be called huge. How? And a plot of at least 40 acres. The house stands on a strong concrete foundation. About 10 meters wide. And 15 in length. The box is made of timber. There is a large attic in the roof. A spacious terrace is attached to the house. The area is fenced with a 2-meter fence. Made from burned slabs. In addition to the house, there is a garage on the site. Bathhouse. And a lot of agricultural buildings. It turns out to be a small farm. Pencil Modest turned out to be a short, plump man with a thick beard. And a large mustache. Dressed in white pants. And a white shirt. Modest greeted us silently. And immediately led into the house. 4 children are playing in the yard. 2 boys of 10. And about 7 years old. And 2 little girls. Seems. Twins. Who have only recently learned to walk. When we entered the terrace, Modest shouted. My son. Set the table. We have guests. A plump woman looked out of the house. She nodded her greeting to us. And closed the door. Have a seat. Said Modest. Pointing to the sofa. And a table standing next to it. I'm behind the chair. And help my wife set the table. My grandfather and I sat for about 10 minutes. We sat. Were silent. And watched. How Modest and his wife set the table. And then the tea party began. This is Nikita Ermakov. My grandfather introduced me. Arrived a few days ago. He has a funny story. Is he aware of what is happening? Modest frowned. Grandfather Yura shook his head. Modest Karandashov. Said the owner of the house. And extended his hand to me. Not across the table. And having risen. And taking a step to the side. I did the same. And shook his strong hand. We sat back down. Let's. Nikita. Tell your story. And then we'll think about it. Modest asked. The old intelligence officer is a rare guest for me. Usually, after his arrival, troubles begin in this village. Let's wait for trouble. I began my story. From the very beginning. When the Dark Future organization contacted me on Earth. And ending with today. When Wilkins offered to eliminate the bandit nicknamed Pan. And his gang. Having finished telling the story. Decided to start drinking tea. The table is laden with delicious food. And you shouldn't miss the opportunity to eat a hearty meal. You have a funny story. Nikitos. Having finished thinking. Modest spoke. That life. Earthly. I'm not interested. But your movement into this world is already interesting. The first is a cave. You are a lucky guy. There's no other way to put it. Rarely does anyone go out into the caves. Those who survived. It's generally difficult to find. The caves of this world are dangerous places. All sorts of creatures live there. Oh well. Alive. And good. Now about the intelligent bear. I didn't meet any hermits among them. I met bears. And they don't really like people. You're lucky with the bear. Could. And cut up. You can't take down an angry bear with a Kalashnikov. Fast. Strong. And tenacious. Okay. We'll skip that too. Dead forest. I can't even understand. Why weren't you eaten? Throw away your earthly guides. They're written by idiots. Into the English. 3 days of hanging out in the dead forest. I don't believe it at all. Into your girl. Abandoned by them. I can't believe it either. Does it even exist? Exists. I answered, in the hospital now. He's getting better. A rarity. Modest looked intently at grandfather Yura. Do you believe in this? He shrugged. I believe. Why not believe it? Okay. We've passed by. Said Modest. And continued. Next are the French from the city of Svetly. I believe in them. They hunt in our area often. Guy is a normal guy. We were drinking with him once. He knows our language well. Lucky. All in all. That I ran into the French. But there was no luck with Skinny's gang. Right. Ancient. He was skinny. I thought the same. The grandfather agreed wearily. Well, who else? If not him. Said Modest. Skinny. And his 2 partners have been involved in banditry in our area for a long time. About a year and a half already. No less. They don't go near the cities. The loot is sold through a dealer. They survive. As best they can. You are a good boy. Nikita. That he knocked down one of them. What a pity. He didn't send the skinny one to the next world. It was he who shot at you with an SVD. And the shooter from Skinny is shitty. If I'm lucky, I'll send more. I said calmly and continued to devour the homemade ham. I like this world at least for this reason. That the food here is completely natural. Earth's chemistry has not reached here. Think. That the local animals will condemn him. Modest said dreamily. You can't survive long in this world without a car. Fine. That you burned their UAZ. Now let's continue. And let's move on to the most important thing. And who is our boss? Right. Wilkins is our boss. What a creature. If you don't know. Nikita. Antiques didn't tell you everything. So. I didn't tell him much at all. Grandfather Yura muttered. Tell him. We'll make a mess of things. And then we'll have to clean it up. You can't do it right away. Modest. You understand yourself. Understand. Modest nodded. And looked at me. You. Nikita. Wilkins got me hooked. And at the same time. And got hooked on Pan's gang. Without knowing it. Mr. Man is Russian. As sad as it may sound. And he is a bad person. There are only 2 populated areas within 200 kilometers of us in all directions. And all of them are trampled by Pan. And his gang. City of Light. Which is almost 1,000 kilometers away. Doesn't interfere in our affairs. Residents of the villages are also tired of the strife. And so everything goes on as usual. We pay Wilkins. He shares with Pan. And everyone is happy. The times of discontent are long gone. Somewhat so. And stability. Damn it. You. And such. How are you? Are useful for Wilkins. By sending you to kill Pan. He tells him about you. Result. You are dead. And all your property goes to them. Profitable. Don't you think? Vaccines. Which ones to you? And your friend got one too. Maybe. And they pull in 5,000 credits. But is this a sum? You will have more property. One car will pull 50. And that's it. And more. Your friend is probably pretty. Cute. And nobody's ones sell well here. Now you understand. How are things really? Think. Nikita. I understand. Got it too. That the ham was no longer tasty. I have completely lost my desire to eat. You need to think. Something stabbed my heart. Grandfather Yura said quietly. And began to puff. And groan. I decided to leave. Have you seen Lennon? Modest asked discontentedly. Your wit is not so good today. Grandfather Yura muttered and rose with difficulty. Headed towards the exit to the street. Already at the stairs he said. And I really did see Lennon. Not in person. I didn't have a chance to see it in person. Only in portraits. The old counterintelligence officer left. Captain Egorov is getting old. Said Modest. About 15 years ago. When I first came into this world. Or rather, flew in. Captain Egorov would have rushed to kill everyone. And all for the sake of justice. Not everyone is capable of living 100 years. My eyesight is failing me. I have no strength. The bones are fragile. I'm surprised in general. How the soul still remains in it. A unique case. Have you flown into this world? I was surprised. It happened. Modest nodded. It was the year 2006. Autumn. I was a pilot. Performed a training flight on a MiG-29 aircraft. I'm flying quietly through the Caucasus Mountains. And then bam. Darkness. And silence. For a second nothing happened. It's so dead silent. Seemed like an eternity. I thought about everything. Togo. The plane exploded. And it sent me to the next world. Didn't understand. How he died. Many thoughts flashed through my mind in a short moment. But no. Darkness. And silence passed. I was flying in the mountains. And now I'm flying over a vast steppe. Can you imagine that? I shook my head. And I couldn't. Modest exclaimed. Flew into the portal. Opened high above the ground. And moved into this world. Spontaneous transition. His mother. He lived happily ever after. I had to live in a new world. What can you do? The fuel was burning up. As best I could. Because you can't sit in the steppe. In the end, I had to reject. I didn't make it a couple of 100 kilometers to one of the cities. The plane was lost. You understand yourself. The pilot's emergency supplies saved him. Survived. It was tough at first. It's a new world after all. Uncertainty. A Boslo's. In that world I have. In essence. There was nothing. And in this I live happily ever after. My beloved wife. 2 bandit sons. Beautiful daughters. A bad incident led to a good one. And where does all this come from? I asked, pointing at the house. Did you receive a non-existent inheritance or did you unearth a gold mine? You have to know how. Nikita. Modest avoided answering. I'll say one thing. It wasn't bad deeds that led me to this life. However. You can't call them good either. Okay. We've passed by. I said if a person doesn't want to talk, he won't say that. It's better to get down to business. Feel that a serious mess is brewing. It smells like a change of power. Have you thought about it? Asked Modest. I nodded. I thought about it. And managed to draw conclusions. You are planning a redistribution of power. Right. Sure. What can we handle? Modest smiled. Your head is thinking correctly. Nikita. Yes. A redistribution of power is coming. Changing the old order. Long outlived its usefulness. To a new one. We can remove Wilkins right now. But there is little use in this. It is also possible to remove Pan's gang. But. And this will bring little result. Need support from someone stronger. Understand. Understand. I nodded. You explain everything to me. Put it on the shelves. I'm new here. Do you believe? I haven't even figured out the time yet. Everything is new to me. An introduction is needed. Big. And a detailed introduction. There will be information. There will be answers. Good approach. Nikita. Modest smiled. Let's go into the house. This kind of conversation shouldn't be had over tea. Let's go. I agreed, understanding. That alcohol will have to be consumed. I like the interior of Modest's house. Everything is made of wood. Carved furniture. The walls are covered with varnished clapboard. The floor is made of perfectly sanded boards. Obviously, this could not have happened without the intervention of Captain Egorov. And his passion for wood carving. Beautiful. All in all. Modest began to set the table again. I displayed mainly pickles. Salads. Meat products. And fish. There is especially a lot of fish. Smoked. Salty. Dried. A 2-liter glass bottle served as alcohol. Filled with black. Like tar. Liquid. Modest's wife went somewhere. And that's right. You shouldn't involve your family in such matters. If we have to fight in the near future, then it is better to do this without Modest's participation. The man has a family. The children are small. It is not right for them to grow up without a father. We sat down at the table. Modest began to list. Everything is mine. Homemade. Meat. And I raise poultry. I'm fishing in the winding river. Vegetables are growing in the garden. I didn't put the fruit on display. There is no place for them here. We will drink my tincture. Made according to a special recipe. A bit strong. Truth. 60 degrees. But there is no need to rush here. There is a lot to discuss. You understand yourself. Stacks. From which one will have to drink. Made of beautiful red-blue stone. The pattern of the stone is similar to the earthly onyx. Modest opened the bottle. And filled the glasses halfway. Each one came out to be about 30 grams. Well. Let's get started. He said. And raised the stack. To our acquaintance. To our acquaintance. I supported. We clinked glasses. And drank. The tincture didn't seem strong. It smells strongly of herbs. But it drinks smoothly. And even pleasant. Balm. No other way. The alcohol is almost imperceptible. Things need to be done. And I drink. I had a bite of smoked fish. Soft as butter. Very fat. But delicious. Tutol. Said Modest. A big fish. It is present in almost all rivers of this world. It grows up to 100 kilos. The tincture is good. I praised. And the fish is also nothing special. But let's get down to business. The first is time. Explain. How to navigate. It's simple. Modest answered. Filling the shot glasses. The day in this world is an hour longer. And 43 minutes. But no one wanted to bother. And the old chronometers were left. Only slightly modified. The owner of the house pointed to the clock hanging on the wall. A regular watch with 3 hands. Usually they go. There are still some extra seconds. Modest continued. 7 or 8. I don't remember exactly. All in all. Extra time was wasted. And it worked. That a second of this world is a little longer than the earthly one. It's unusual at first. But over time you get used to it. Several years. And you forget about it altogether. Something like that. And it should be. I started to serve myself a salad of fresh vegetables. The only earthly things in it are cucumbers. Tomatoes. And radish. The other 2 vegetables are unknown. The greenery is also a bit strange. No dill. No parsley. The bow seems to be earthly. What's on the line? I asked, have you mastered the radio? I'm not asking about the internet. Radio. And landline telephones are the main form of communication. Modest answered. They're available in almost all populated areas. The internet is being mastered. But only in cities. If only there were satellites. It would be easier. But local technologies do not allow such luxury.
Сотовая связь в городах опять же имеется.
As on Earth. It won't be soon. But. Think. Someday it will be. I'll tell you an interesting hypothesis later. And you'll think about it. Now let's have a drink. We drank. I had a salad as a snack. Delicious. Filled with oil. Reminiscent of mustard. It's time for the next question. Ion Biles Arden. What about geography? Guide. Which was given to me back on Earth. Speaks. That there is only one known continent. Called Central. Well. And its islands. Peninsula. And capes. No other continents were discovered. Everything again comes down to hypothesis. Modest answered. Bye. I'll repeat myself. I won't voice it. I answer with a firm yes. There is only one known continent in this world. And it is called Central. A huge continent. Almost like Eurasia on Earth. We are located in its central eastern part. The central part is especially populated. And southwestern parts. The islands are almost uninhabited. Lots of oddities. I muttered and thought. Portals can't open only on one continent. If on Earth they open everywhere. There is some artificiality present. No other way. There are too many oddities. Said Modest. You have no idea. How many? Okay. Let's figure it out. I put some pickled mushrooms on the plate. And demanded the following clarification. Let's talk about local geography. Nearest cities. Villages. Villages. Rivers. Mountains. Forests. Briefly. But it's understandable. Briefly. And it's clear, these are different things. Said Modest. And picked up a bottle of tincture. But I'll try. From the place. Where we are now. The nearest ocean or the end of the continent is almost 1,000 kilometers away. Direction is east. Mountains. From which you entered the dead forest. They come right out to the ocean. You can't drive through them. So you'll have to make a significant detour of about 3,000 kilometers. Who lives in those parts? Unknown. At least. To me. The same people from our world. More likely. Who else? And local wildlife. Certainly. The center of the continent is on the other side. If we take our village as the starting point. And orient yourself towards the mountains. Regarding local geography. It's simpler here. The nearest town is Svedli. And by road it's 480 kilometers away. The next city after Svedli is almost 700 kilometers away. And it is called Easton. One of the first cities. Founded in this part of the continent. The population is almost 10,000. The industry is good. All in all. Lots of interesting things. Although. And the city of Svedli is not bad either. Cities are developing. Not to mention villages. Our village. Sachsenhausen. In essence. The most extreme. 60 kilometers from us. Towards the town of Svedli. The village of Roj is located on a huge hill. Western direction. If you look at the compass. The population is almost 1,000. The main income from agriculture. And stone mining. From which our shot glasses are made. Hill. On which they live. They are digging up. The third village is called Voinoi or Voika. Because it is divided into two parts by a wide river. The river is called Quiet. The village of Voika is about 90 kilometers away from us. No more. There is a dirt road there. The direction is southern. All in all. All. Let's have a drink. Nikita. After another shot, I decided to have a hearty meal. And dug into the smoked bird. If you drink alcohol. Then you need to eat a lot. So as not to get drunk quickly. However. I'm not going to get drunk. Don't know. What does Modest think about this? But we won't finish the whole bottle. Did you even understand? What did I explain to you? Asked Modest. Partially. I answered, do you happen to have a map of this area lying around? It was lying around. He nodded. Only I drew it myself. And it didn't turn out so great. I'll bring it now. A few minutes later, a sheet of paper with a drawing made in a simple graphics editor lay on the table in front of me. And a map printed on it. Clumsily drawn. Honestly. But it would be better for me not to draw it. I'll give Modest his due. The map is readable. I decided to start reading and then clarify the details with the owner. The village of Sachsenhausen is located on the banks of the Isvillestad River. The river flows from east to west. It originates somewhere in the mountains. Into which the portal through me. It probably flows through a dead forest. How could it be without it? And runs on. Near the village of Sachsenhausen, the Isvillestad River becomes quite full-flowing. Flows further. And after about 30 or 40 kilometers it stops living up to its name. And straightens up. Next comes the Tikhaya River. It is located 70 to 80 kilometers to the south. And runs parallel to the Isvillestad River. Quite full-flowing. And wide. It all begins in the same mountains. And also flows through the dead forest. Winding compared to the quiet one, a stream. Modest said. That's somewhere far away. Closer to the city of Svedli. The meandering river flows into the Tikai River. And that's where it ends. The village of Voika was built on the Tikai River in that place, where it makes a sharp turn. Half of the village is located on the right bank, and the other one on the left. The transfer takes place by ferry. Technologies. However, the village of Roj stands on a huge hill. If you look from the village of Sachsenhausen, then the direction is western. If you go further, you will find yourself in the city of Svedli. Modest marked the roads with black winding lines, and convinced that he drew them from memory. If you leave the village of Sachsenhausen, then after a short time you will pass a left turn, leading to the village of Roj. Before reaching the village of Roj, you can turn right, and you will find yourself on the road, leading to the city of Svedli, without turning towards the village of Roj, and continue driving straight. Gradually you will reach the turnoff to the clean lake. You turn left. You drive a little, and you find yourself at the lake. Pan's hut is also located there. More precisely, castle. That place, which I need, and which will soon be visited. Without turning towards the clean lake, and continuing to drive, you'll come to a fork. To the left, to the city of Svedli. Turn right to the village of Voika, which is just a few kilometers away. It's simple. The clear lake is the central object. The distance from it to any of the three villages is almost the same. Pan has settled in comfortably. Having remembered a few objects on the map, I put it aside. I figured out the local geography, and the issue can be considered resolved. Let's move on to the next ones. Modest. There is oil in this world. And that means it can be recycled. Has fuel production been mastered or is it just planned? And where do you get electricity? Not out of thin air, right? Modest. Chewed. Answered. There are no particular problems with fuel. The gas station is located in an industrial zone. Diesel is in greater demand than gasoline. You understand yourself. Diesel engines are less demanding. I'm talking about the old ones. The price of fuel is high. Certainly. But we're not complaining. We do not deal with cargo transportation. The main fuel supplier is the city of Svedli. Where does he get it? I don't know. But, more likely, from the nearest oil depot. 99% of the fuel is locally produced. Fuel was previously transported through portals. And in those days it was fabulously expensive. You understand yourself. How difficult it was. They sent it there. And here you look, whistles. Portals are not stationary. They still carry them now. But who needs it? Sometimes large groups are abandoned. And along with them they send real fuel tankers. Oh well. We've passed by. Back to fuel. There are no oil wells as such in this world. And there was none. Oil is extracted thanks to one representative of the local fauna known to you. The hydrocarbon worm makes burrows, which lead directly to oil. Interesting. Yes. I nodded. How can this not be interesting? So that's it. Modest continued. Those worms don't eat oil. And that's it. What's in it? They filter. To put it simply. And they filter quite well. Distilling dirty oil in makeshift conditions. You get fuel with a huge amount of impurities. The sulfur alone is worth it. The engine will rust in no time. After the hydrocarbon worm, the oil becomes crystal clear. Figuratively. Certainly. It is easy to distill such oil in artisanal conditions. And simple. The diesel fuel turns out good. Gasoline is also acceptable. And you all distill this oil. Whoever they want. Right. I asked, getting ready to drink another shot. Right. Modest nodded. And drank. I drank next. The alcohol began to be clearly felt in the tincture. If there is access to oil near the settlement, then this guarantees a comfortable existence. Said Modest. Frowning from drinking. But without snacking. In such villages, everyone produces oil. No oil refineries are needed. Speculators arrive in large vehicles with equally large tanks. And buy up oil. And then sell it at oil depots. Fuel. And not oil. I corrected. Yes. Fuel. Modest nodded. I misspoke a little. All in all. You understand everything about oil. Regarding oils. That's where the tension lies. Oils. Made only from oil. Not very good. Synthetic ones are better. Myself. Maybe. You know. Oils. And all other chemistry comes to us from the previous world. And is expensive. Yes. And you won't find her. Nothing reaches us. Outskirts. As far as electricity is concerned, everything is simpler. A powerful cable is laid in the ground. The city of Svedli supplies us with electricity. It also supplies water to the villages of Roj. And juice. Well. And there is a supply line to Pan's hut. How could it be without it? At the same time, the cable is laid. And telephone. The gasket has been made a long time ago. About 20 years before me. I don't know. Where is it located? Maine. There's enough of everything. We're not complaining. Where does the city of Svedli get electricity? I clarified. Wind generators. A small power plant on the river. If there is a shortage, the existing thermal power plant is connected. Running on diesel. Modest said. It's simple. You understand yourself. The last question. But no less important. I said, I heard about the existence of the United Bank. I suppose. That the nearest branch is located in the city of Svedli. Right. Modest nodded. Right. Nikita. The United Bank is the only bank existing in this world. He controls everything. And that's all. This is the power of this world. The United Bank is buying gold and other jewelry, and instead gives loans. The bulk of loans exist physically. Banknotes and coins. Electronic money is only in the process of being implemented. They won't reach us anytime soon. In essence, the United Bank is a non-existent state. He doesn't limit anyone in anything, but at the same time has absolute power. After all, everyone has known this for a long time. That money is power. And the ideal means of controlling the masses of people. I declare it boldly. That the United Bank is the strongest organization in this world. You simply can't imagine anything stronger. And their power will have to be reckoned with. Agree. I muttered and thought. Asked. And here. In Sachsenhausen. And other villages. Too. And Horn. Who represents the interests of the bank? Such a person simply must exist. Right. It exists. Modest answered. Dash. And this man is Pan. No financial transaction takes place without his knowledge. In essence. Mr. Representative of the United Bank. Remove it. Now you understand it yourself. It's not easy. It's easy to remove. I disagreed. The consequences will be more complicated. No one will give up power so easily. Bad ones will come. Many bad ones. And they will regain power. There was a knock on the door 3 times. Modest chuckled. And got up from the table. He muttered on the way to the door. Someone brought. Mine is on the street, it seems. The guest turned out to be a big guy my age. And growth. His athletic build suggests bodybuilding. The white t-shirt hugged his powerful torso. Toned legs can't be hidden by short shorts. Great. Modest. Said the guest from the doorway. And looked at me through the owner. Yours said. That you have a guest. But before her, intelligence reported to me about the guest. I see. That's how it is. And there is. Great. Andriaka. Modest answered. And literally pulled the guest into the house. And then dragged him to the table. Since intelligence reported. Means. It needs to be this way. You will get acquainted. Andrei Bokov. The guest introduced himself. And extended his hand to me. Nikita Ermakov. Getting up. I introduced myself and shook his hand. We sat down at the table. I managed to notice a callus on Andrei Bokov's index finger. He likes to shoot. And does it all the time. Modest took out the 3rd stack. Spilled the tincture. And we drank. I had to briefly tell the story of my arrival in this world. It's a funny story. Andrei smiled. When I finished. Yes. Modest. I already said. He answered. Don't start. And I didn't intend to. Andrei said quietly. Thinking about something. It's just interesting. What exactly? Frowning. I asked. Yes, everything is interesting. Andrei answered calmly. Modest started the business. But he didn't invite me. We'll start soon. Yes. Modest. Let's begin. Modest answered. And closed his eyes. You. As usual. You're chewing snot. Modest. Andrei Bokov said with a hint of regret. This is wrong. If we're going to talk about it. That's all. And immediately. As usual. I'll have 2. So come on. Nikita. Get ready to listen. I prepared to listen. Listen, don't talk. It doesn't take much intelligence. Although sometimes some people lack it. And they don't know how to listen. They talk and talk. But there is no point. Empty chatter. Modest Karandashov. And Andrei Bokov to the people. Idle chatter. Do not apply. And that's good. It would be a sin to even mention the old counterintelligence officer, Captain Yegorov. Secretive. He says only that. What he considers necessary. He is on good terms with Andrei Bokov. And I have already been reported. Intelligence. First. What I want to state. Andrei spoke. Looking intently into Modest's eyes. You. Pencil. You don't take part in all this crap. Modest opened his mouth. But Andriaka made a gesture. And with a look he silenced him. And added menacingly. There's no point in muttering. Because I decided everything. Frissen Neskolko.
Самое главное, нас всех могут убить.
That's why you're out of business. At least. Not with those. Which you will have to shoot. Who will feed your family? We won't leave 4 children without a father. I don't see any point in voicing the other reasons. Because they pale in comparison to the first. Agree. Modest. Modest propped his head up with his hand. And thought. I support Andre. I said, Modest. You. And it really is better to stay in the shadows. We are a different matter. Okay. Persuaded. Modest reluctantly agreed. But keep this in mind. I won't let you cut my beard. Nobody is going to let you grow a beard. Andrijke almost growled. If everything works out. Then Sachsenhausen is yours. I don't need that kind of power. Other priorities. To Nikita. Think. It's not really needed either. Right. I nodded. I have no need for power over this village. But I need money. And a cozy house. If we can get it. Then I will be glad. I didn't voice my thoughts. Out of harm's way. I'm afraid to jinx it. Superstitions. Damn them. And now I will tear your plan to pieces. And dust. Andrijke declared loudly. And gestured to Modest to fill the glasses. Having cleared his throat. Continued speaking in a calm tone. Sending Nikita to kill Pan is not a plan. But pure crap. Can anyone read Wilkins' mind? Nobody can. Therefore, the first one. What we'll do is give Nikita some money. And he buys his property from Wilkins. It's simple. We'll tell him that I drank with my fellow countrymen. And they lent it. How kind we are. Everyone knows here. There will be no suspicions. So you don't want to kill Pan? Modest frowned. I raised the glass. We clinked glasses. Drank. And had a snack. Chewed. Andre answered. Want. But not so soon. Plans have changed. The team needs to be assembled. Team. I became interested because a team is good. The more numbers there are, the more chances there will be. And who do you want to call? Modest asked defiantly. I'll gather at least 6 or 7 people. Or maybe. And more. Andrijke answered. There are 2 from Sachsenhausen, me and Nikita. I'll pull 3 from Roj, Bullet Musin. Sashka Bodrov. And Denis Nugumanov. From the 2, I'll try to attract 4, Raisa Surkova. Olga Barkova. Ilyaka Osipov. And Pashka Kuznetsov. In the plans from Svedli Maxim Efemenko. And call Alina Ravenko. But it's more complicated there. Our activities may arouse suspicion. You understand yourself. Suspicions, to put it mildly. Modest exclaimed. You understand. What if we start to gather such a large number of Russians into one place? Then they'll just catch us. In your opinion. Am I a fool? Andrijke frowned. And answered himself. I understand everything. But there is no other way out. And I won't be pulling them towards us. And we will disperse across 3 villages. The time will come. Getting together in one group is not a problem. A couple of hours. And we are a small army. Okay. I agree. Modest lowered his tone. Now the second. Why do you need them? The skills of some are not only unnecessary. And damn dangerous. You've gone too far. Modest. Waving it off. Andrijke laughed quietly. Now I'll tell you about everyone in detail. Not for you. Pencil. For Nikita. Because he is a new man. I prepared to listen. Andrijke. After eating a piece of ham. Began to tell the story. Our first one is Bullet Musin. 30 years. In this world recently. It will be a year soon. Newbie. All in all. Previously lived in Bashkiria. In the city of Ufar. He came to us of his own free will.
И по причине невозможности пребывания в мире прежнем.
Po specialnosti Sapa.
Нужно что-то разминировать, зовем Булата.
If we need to destroy something, we call him too. Additional skills include the ability to shoot well. And throw knives. Next is Sashka Bodrov. 28 years old. In this world 2.5 years. And you can't call him a newbie. Spontaneous migrant. Formerly a contract soldier. Works great with a machine gun. And also works well with any other weapon. Universal. All in all. Denis Nugumanov is the third candidate. Age under 40. In this world for 10 years. Veteran. So to speak. I came of my own free will. How? And you? Nikita. In the past, Denis was an officer. You need a good connection, Denis will solve everything. He knows how to shoot. And does it well. Raisa Surkova is fourth. Age 36 years. Profession, sniper. Professional sniper. I came into this world 5 years ago of my own free will. If you need to kill someone from a distance. Then we turn to her. Knows how to be invisible. An indispensable person for the upcoming event. How? And the next candidate. Our fifth is Olya Barkova. Over 40 years of age. Profession, doctor. Military doctor. Will easily pull bullets out of our asses. And will sew them up. While encouraging with cheerful words. And not very funny jokes. In this world there are 4 years. And also of their own free will. He knows how to shoot. But not too professional. And we won't really need this skill. Now, pulling bullets out of people's asses is a different matter. As I already said. An irreplaceable person. Ilyaka Osipov is 6th. 29 years old. He came to us from the previous world by chance a little over a year ago. A spontaneous transition happened. And he's here. I served in the army. And is excellent with technology. As with the military. So. And with civil. Human. Able to fix everything. And that's all. Needed. And in some situations is irreplaceable. If your calculator breaks, he'll fix it. If the diesel engine breaks down, it will be rebuilt. If we find spare parts. He's good with weapons. This is the world here. Everyone has to learn to shoot. Pashka Kuznetsov will be 7th. The youngest of us all. 25 years. This is the 2nd year that this world has been in existence. And managed to adapt to it. Spontaneous transition. Nickname Separatist. This is from a past life. I learned to shoot back on Earth. And does it quite well. The conditions of existence taught me to shoot. Universal. Calm. Which is important. 8th Maxim Efemenko. Age 36 years. Visiting the New World for 5 years. Came of his own free will. In the past he lived in Belarus. He can shoot well. And fight well. Professional hand-to-hand fighter. Teaches hand-to-hand combat in the city of Svetly. Previously served in intelligence. Officer. We need him. I'll finish the list with Alina Ravenko. If she agrees. That will be great. No. Means. No. We certainly won't force her to shoot people. But to help plan the operation. And coordinate it, yes. She is a former financier with extensive experience. And also a good analyst. Alina has been in this world for almost 4 years. She came to us almost of her own free will. Age closer to 40. We don't know each other very well. But Modest's wife is on good terms with her. They are friends. All in all. That's all. Nikita. A fine company is gathering. Remembering what was told. I said, we should be able to handle this with a team like this. Main. Do not conflict. Now the question. How will the locals react to this? They'll treat it normally. Andrei answered. The population of all 3 villages is diverse. Many Europeans. You could say so. Majority. In the past, most of the population led an active lifestyle. And shot a lot. Charter. Decided to settle down. And settle down. Every home has a trunk and is possible. Not alone. The main objective is not to threaten the population. Let's catch someone. And we'll grab the sad consequences. There are few Russians in the villages. But we have power. More precisely. Our bad fellow countrymen. If the Russians start a fight among themselves. Then this will not surprise anyone. Changes in power are a common occurrence. Main. So that the new government would be better than the old one. This can be guaranteed. For many residents, the change of power is even beneficial. And entertainment. And, briefly speaking, Europeans love it. When Russians clash among themselves. Let them have fun. You speak well. Andreyek. Modest said with a degree of skepticism. And asked. Have you thought about the United Bank? I thought about it. And thought it through. Andreyka answered. The city of Svetly is far from us. Those in power are there. Having found out that there are coups in the villages. They won't send Pan any help for a simple reason. He will be dead by then. The United Bank will send negotiators. Profit is important to them. The negotiators' conditions will have to be accepted. Because we are not ready to bite with the United Bank. We will change the conditions later. When everything settles down. Your words, yes. Modest muttered. Thanks to Andreyka. And I understood Modest. How are things in the villages? We have a chance to pull it all off. And they are quite tall. It is a sin to rely on luck. Everything needs to be planned carefully. And think about it several times. And the last thing from intelligence. Said Andreyka. At the moment there are 11 people in Pan's gang. These are them. Who live in mansions on the Clear Lake. About 40 more close associates are scattered across 3 villages. A decent crowd of mercenaries is gathering. Moreover, all the mercenaries are Russian-speaking. Well. And in Svetly. Certainly. But there's already a different gang there. Those guys are Misha Yakut's stooges. Someday we will. And we'll get to it. And now. Men. Think. It's time to finish. I took the money. 3 pieces of credits. From you. Modest. The same amount. Wilkins is greedy. You know it yourself. Nikita will count something that doesn't exist. Go for the money. Modest stood up reluctantly. Apparently. He doesn't like to part with his savings. It makes me happy. That I will no longer be a debtor. Duty to one's own is not so terrible. Interesting. What fate awaits Wilkins? It won't make any moves. Will survive. And the guys will survive it. Sit quietly. And not noticing what is happening will be the best option for them. But I doubt it. Wilkins will not give up power. Let this power. And fictitious. Pan is in charge of everything. We finally finished the tincture. And only after that did they go to Wilkins. Me and Andrei Bokov in his car. Quite drunk. But capable of making sober decisions. Asterisk. Andrei's car is a black Toyota Land Cruiser 100. Prepared for off-road conditions. Almost the same. Like my Toyota Surf. In harsh conditions they are unlikely to give in to each other. I went to talk to Wilkins alone. Entering the office. Sat down on a chair. And put a stack of credits totaling 6,000 on the table. What is this? Wilkins was surprised and sniffed. Added. What are you talking about? Are you drunk? Not without it. I answered, feigning extreme intoxication. And smiling broadly. I met my fellow countrymen. They celebrated my arrival. All in all. There are 6,000 here. Enough.
Чтобы покрыть финансовые издержки.
Wilkins. Frowning. Took the money. And began to count them. Finished after about 30 seconds. Put them away in the drawer. And muttered incoherently. Enough. It's just not clear. What exactly? Swaying. I was surprised. How will you repay the debt? Nick. They clearly didn't give you the money for nothing. And earnings. Suggested by me. Are you giving it up? 10,000 is a decent amount. Besides, you will do a good deed. And where did the desire to kill Pan go? Lots of questions. I grinned, but so. And B. I will answer. And then I'll leave. They lend me money. But they asked for it to be returned. When I can. At least in a year. At least in 10 years. We. Russians. Kind to each other. We help our fellow countrymen in trouble. And do not try to destroy them. This is the answer to the first question. Next, about earnings. I refuse. 10,000 is not enough for such a thing. And you won't give more. And if you give it, I still won't take it. And there are reasons for this. You are greedy. Wilkins. And this is the answer to the second question. Now the third. Last. The gentleman is a bad man. I'm not much better. We are all not without sin. The question arises. Why do I need enemies? And why risk your life? There. In the old world. I was ordered Pan. How? And many other bad people. The customers are there. And I'm here. I don't want to get my hands dirty. I still have to live in this world. And I love to live. Wilkins. That's all. I'm off. Go. Falling into a stupor. Said Wilkins. I stood up and leaned over the table. Looked Wilkins in the eyes. Baring his teeth. Said. I didn't ask permission to leave. But presented them with a fait accompli. See you. Greedy. And thanks for your help. My advice. Don't be greedy for money. Otherwise they will destroy you someday. I don't give a damn about your advice. Nick. I heard already in the corridor. I vacated the room. And it was time to pick up the car. They gave it to me. But they took a receipt. I am not listed as a resident of the village. And I have no right to take out a weapon. I will be seen with a weapon in my hands. And it will be confiscated. Do it outside the village limits. Whatever you wish. Wilkins doesn't know. What? Maybe. Very soon I will be walking around the village with a machine gun in my hands. And represent the new government. Occupant. However. Russian occupiers are going to replace Russian occupiers. Interesting. Asterisk. We went to Andrei Bokov's home in 2 cars. He is a bachelor. And lives alone. So there is a free room. Temporarily placed at my disposal. Available. Where does he work? Andreika, so be it. And didn't say. Cleverly avoiding the answer. Doesn't want to talk. Let him not speak. I'm not interested in such details. Main. That he does not live poorly. Even luxurious. Compared to other residents of the village. Bokov's house is located at the exit of the village. And stands apart. 2-story. Newbie. Big. The plot is about 1,000 square meters. No more. Surrounded by a high fence made of straight boards. Painted with green paint. There is a good quality garage with a pit on the site. And a winch. There is a large bathhouse with a relaxation area. Alcove. And a smokehouse. There is no swimming pool. But in the plans. There is no vegetable garden. Cattle too. Your mansion is pretty good. I assessed. I'm afraid to imagine. How much does everything cost? Not bad. Apparently. You earn. I'm not complaining. Andrika shrugged. My job is not permanent. But profitable. And dangerous. You understand yourself. They don't pay much for safe work. You tell that to the deputies. I chuckled. I'm talking about this world. Andrika also chuckled. Here. Unlike the previous world. Unnecessary people did not multiply like that.
Ненужные здесь долго не живут.
Or. Vice versa. Live a long time. Luxuriously. And happily. And by the way. About the deputies. Their work is safe. But. Judging by the motorcades. Who guard them? They have the most dangerous job in the world. Servants of the people. Who should they be afraid of? You don't have any living creatures at all. I asked, studying the yard. Dogs or cats? Andrika whistled loudly. And called. Fluff. Come to me. Fluff. Lying quietly next to two woodpiles. And until now has remained completely unnoticed. Stood up. And joyfully rushed to the owner. I didn't see any joy in his appearance. I was very scared. And ran away. In a few jumps I reached the garage. I managed to climb to a height of 4 meters. Somehow magically grasped the edge of the roof covered with tar paper. And end up on it. The whole thing took about 5 seconds. No more. Out of fear. You can do even more. Fluffy is a cat. Very similar to a saber-toothed tiger. And having exactly the same teeth. The Fluff is not inferior in size to the Amur tiger. It weighs about 300 kilograms. No less. Interesting coloring. Which almost merged with the woodpile. Fluffy is capable of mimicry. All in all. Fluffy didn't take my swift escape well. Stopping next to the owner. Fell on his back. And meowed angrily. Fluff. I shouted from the roof. Continuing to shake with fear. Is this Fluffy? Andrika. Take it away. Laughing, Andrika fell to his knees. And began to stroke Pushka. He immediately began to purr. Pushka's purring is serious. Likewise. But the hammer drill purrs more intensely. Biting into concrete. Let's. Nikitos. Come down. Said Andrika. Continuing to laugh. My Fluffy doesn't bother guests. I am struggling with doubts. With great difficulty I got down from the garage. But he didn't dare to approach Pushka. Andrika stood up. Looked at Pushka. And barked. Fluff. Get up. Fluffy stood up abruptly. And looked at the owner. The eyes are so kind. Affectionate. And tender. The teeth are a whole other story. If I tell you to kill you. Then he will do it in a few seconds. Andrika said calmly. An ideal watchman. Never climbs over the fence without permission. Domestic animals are not touched. Obedient. Which is unimaginable for a cat. They call him Sabertooth here. They brought him to me as a kitten. Still blind. He was nursed back to health from a bottle. Kitty. I exclaimed and begged. Get him out of my sight. Please. Fluff. Disguise yourself. Andrika shouted. Sabertooth turned sharply. And rushed off towards the bathhouse. A good security guard. I said and approached Andrika. Now I'm worried about something else. Should I be afraid of him in your absence or not? If you don't have any plans for me. And bad for him. Then don't be afraid. Sabertooth is too smart a cat. Firstly. He remembered you. Secondly. Saber-toothed cats are almost telepathic. Or empaths. That's more accurate. They feel emotions. It is unlikely that you will be able to deceive them. There was one case. Did you eat someone? I asked. No. Andrika waved it off. And headed towards the entrance to the house. So. Bit a little. I killed that villain, let's go into the house. Nikita. Otherwise it's getting dark already. We need to have time to drink. Fry some shashlik. Wash in the bathhouse. And get some sleep. We'll work tomorrow. Asterisk. Andre's house can be called modern. Finished with wood. But of the highest class. Modern technology is available. Miraculously delivered from the old world. Wood carving. Which counterintelligence officer Captain Yegorov is interested in. Not found. Having looked around the rooms. I immediately noticed the missing space. A small room. No more than 10 square meters. Hidden. And has no door. More precisely. Has. But it is disguised. Entering the hall. I stopped at a large closet. Filled with movie discs. And games. There. In the old world. These discs are not in demand. Same here. In the absence of the internet. There is demand. What's behind the closet? I asked. You found the secret room quickly. Andrika grinned. Observant. Turns out. I'll show you now. After removing several stacks of discs, Andrijka opened a small door, behind which a lever was discovered. A few clicks. The cabinet came off the floor, and was opened like an ordinary door. Click of the switch, and a small weapons room came into view. Not bad, I exclaimed. The weapons hang on special holders. Kalashnikov assault rifles of almost all modifications, starting from AK-47, and ending with the 100th episode. 5 Mosin rifles, submachine guns from World War II, light machine guns, and machines of the same era. New weapons at a minimum. Everything is old, but in sufficient quantity to easily arm a couple of platoons. There are not just a lot of cartridges in the boxes. In bulk. How do you like it? Andrijka asked. Fine. I answered, bad. That everything is old. They don't fight like that now. Only AK and SVD are used. You won't get a new one. Andrijka complained, and went to the safe, standing in the corner. But I still managed to get something. Is it true? In a single copy. As Val was taken out of the safe and demonstrated. It's noticeable by the condition of the weapon that he is being looked after. I'm taking care, Andrijka said affectionately. The number of shots fired is minimal. No more than a couple of 100 shots. Take care. I smiled. And off they went. I wasn't very surprised by your arsenal. Machine guns on a mount. Cord. DSHK. NSV. And even better, grenade launchers. My arsenal is smaller. But not bad either. Let's go. I'll show you. We drove the cars into the yard. Andrijka went to heat the bathhouse. And I started dragging some of my things into the room allocated to me. Finished. Changed clothes. And went outside. The bathhouse is heating up. And there is wood burning in the grill. Not a birch. But something similar. There's a problem with meat. Nikitos. Said Andrijka, thoughtfully looking around the yard. I don't have any pets. So I'll have to go to the store. Can you handle it? I'll give you money. The store is a 5-minute walk away. You won't get lost. We'll be watching your arsenal once we finish with business. Andrijka gave me 100 credits in one bill. And I went to the store. The one-story building is hidden in one of the streets. A typical log building with a small vestibule at the entrance. And large windows. Such shops existed in villages during the Soviet Union. 3 signs. In Russian, English, and German languages. Who speak that this is a store. A plump lady is bored behind the counter. Englishwoman. As it turned out. The selection on the shelves is so-so. The freezer is full of meat, fish, and semi-finished products. The bread is gone. Alcohol is available. Mostly local swill. Do you have any chilled pork? I asked in English. The saleswoman nodded. The store has a warehouse. And possibly. Most of the goods are located there. All in all. Like this. I said and handed the note to the saleswoman. Which Andrijka wrote. She, having read it quickly, nodded several times. And lazily went to the warehouse. Vernalas Spuster Pat Manut. And handed me the full package. I handed over a few coins in small change from 100 credits. Interesting. Returning to the house. I found out from Andrijka that local stores don't sell to just anyone. Wilkins work. If it weren't for the note, then I won't see any purchases. It's just like the Soviet Union during the times of commodity shortages. Having marinated the pork neck I bought, we went to see my arsenal. SVT didn't surprise Andrijka, because he has almost the same one in his arsenal. And here is the AK-15. And I liked the under-barrel grenade launcher for it. He even shot a little. I'll have to remember to clean it. And lubricate the weapon. It loves care. Having done all the work, we went to the bathhouse. A couple of bottles of beer. That I have. Wrought Andrijka into raptures. Raising the temperature in the steam room to 110 degrees. We climbed onto the shelves. And began to warm up. The beer was left lying in the changing room in a bucket of cold water. The French told me about beer. I said, why don't they produce it? Who the hell knows? Andrijka shrugged. They don't produce them. And that's all. I didn't go into details. Maybe. There. In the center of the continent. Produce. We don't have it yet. Moonshine. Cognac. Vodka, as much as you want. There is champagne. All kinds of wines. Like grapes. So. And from local berries. All sorts of nonsense. Like that. What they drank at Modest's. There is no beer. What if we start production? I asked and began to develop the topic. Let's get the job done. And we will gain power, we will open a brewery. Little by little at first. Here. In Sachsenhausen. Produce. Then in neighboring villages. You'll be lucky. We will open a branch in Svetli. Only brew real beer. And not a surrogate. What I brought from the previous world. How do you like this option? Andreika filled a ladle with water. And added some steam. It became really hard. I haven't been to a normal bathhouse for a long time. I've been thinking about it. Andreika answered the question. Malt is not a problem. Grain is grown in our area. There is also yeast. Water even more so. The main problem is hops. It doesn't grow here. We tried growing it. But the hops don't want to grow. There's something about the soil he doesn't like. Or in the air. Don't know. All in all. It doesn't grow. And that's all. While we were steaming. We were discussing beer. And discussed it. When we were sitting in the changing room. And drank the earthly surrogate. Called beer. They didn't come to any specific decision. It all comes down to hops. But he is not in this world. We decided to postpone the idea until better times. First, you need to strengthen yourself. Settle down. So to speak. And then. And you can think about business. Maybe. There is a plant in this world. Capable of replacing hops. You can get pretty high on beer. Main. Be monopolists. After steaming. And having washed myself. We went outside. And started grilling shashlik. The table was assembled with minimal effort. Salads. And sauces for meat. As well as local wine. Having filled my glass. And having tasted the wine. I found it delicious. There is no taste of alcohol. Feeling. That you are drinking pomegranate juice with a light peach aroma. Interesting. The wine is not bad. I assessed, there are almost no degrees. Yes. The wine is cool. Said Andreika. Meat watcher. Local craftsmen have become seriously addicted to wine. It can be purchased in stores. So. And in houses. If you have money. There are a lot of things you can buy here. The meat was fried. And eaten. The shashlik turned out delicious. We sat in the gazebo until midnight. We sat. Talked. Ate shashlik. And drank wine. And then we went to bed. Feeling. That I'll fall asleep soon. I decided to review in my memory what I heard from Andre. World. Which I got into. Inhabited by all the peoples of the former world. These peoples try to live in harmony. But sometimes discord breaks out. And bloodshed occurs. Bad. What happened in the former world? Inexorably breaks through here. Religions also broke through. Murders are a constant occurrence. There is little stability in the new world. There are 3 stable things in it. The first is money in the form of loans. And the United Bank. Whatever happens. It concerns him little. The authority of the single bank is inviolable. The United Bank is a stable structure. The second stable thing is death. People kill each other. In cities. And villages. And beyond them. People are constantly being eaten by local creatures. The third stable thing is the constant replenishment of the population in the form of new arrivals. And natural. Let it be so. And not so high. Birth rate. The new world is growing. In that part. Where I was thrown. Relatively calm. Small population. Few strife. In the central part of the continent. Where cities grew up. More difficult. Sometimes real wars happen there. The largest cities have populations in the tens of thousands. The largest city is Jericho. It is home to just over 100,000 people. It is in this city that the main representative office of the United Bank is located. As for bad people. Then everything is not so bad. Just as I imagined. Sometimes a person. Which in the previous world was very bad. In the new world it changes radically. And begins to lead a measured life. And a quiet life. Sometimes it's the other way around. In the old world, man was not a criminal. But in the new world he turned into a complete scumbag. It's complicated. About bright future organizations. And the dark future is rarely remembered in this world. Fanatics. Certainly. Remained. But there are a minimum of them. There are some assumptions. That the United Bank is closely linked to both organizations. All in all. There are many assumptions. But there are few answers. One thing is clear. All 3 of my new acquaintances are hiding a lot. If you're lucky. I'll find out someday. And now it's time to sleep. Tomorrow will be a difficult day. I'll drop by the hospital in the morning. I'll check on Kaylee. And I will give vaccinations. And then I'll go to the village of Roj. Andreika will go to the village of Voika. Affairs. Affairs. Affairs.